curious on how you would answer how this body of material, everything you just described, how that actually can be and is integrated into practical day-to-day being human.
Well, first of all, the practicality of the mythology is that it gives images embedded in story, it provides imagery and story, which speak towards patterns in practical life through metaphor. So that's what I find is really valuable about the mythology is that sure we can come at it in conventional psychological terms, which would be more abstract. Early to bed, early to rise will make you happy, wealthy, and wise. And so there's no image anywhere in there. It's simply a formula of intellect and rational fact, which is very important. Half the game. I'm into it. But with mythology, now we get images, characters, a story, a setting, an environment. So all of these different things get to go in and enforce in me why it is important to go to bed early. But that's really important because once content that's abstract um, becomes metaphorical, it has to have images to become symbolic, and a symbol and metaphor need image, need relationship to provide again that connotative associative place where it's interpermeating as opposed to delineated classifications of information or whatever. So for me, I'll like again with the myth of Icarus, for me that's a great go-to when I'm reading content about what happens when you get all narcissistic, and then the narcissist myth too for that. Um, so now I have something more experiential. It's in a story and it has images and it has a place, a setting, a scene. I've been there in my imagination. I've experienced it, the imagery and the wind blowing through the trees and the colors and everything are actually tangible material content, although highly subtle, existing within the realm of my imagination, which is the place where we have to go if we're going to be able to open up or step through that doorway that's made available as an option through a symbol or a metaphor. So that's the value. That's the practical value of the mythology, that it gives the story to the principle.
Yes, it's well and good to have the the data, go to bed early, wake up early. That's going to help with success. And then with a story, a myth, with those images, that lesson is expounded on and experienced in a broader and deeper way.
Perfect. Exactly.
Read a book once years ago, and it was talking about Navy pilots, but they didn't have the emotional experience of it. They did have the emotional experience of landing on the boat, and then what came after that, which was a hot shower, a warm meal, and a bed. And the newbies would be coming in and they would be getting very loud signals from the control tower that they were too low. And oftentimes they would still crash into the boat because they hadn't had the emotional experience of crashing into the boat. So they knew it intellectually, but they didn't experience it. And so without the experience, it just wasn't quite enough.
I think that people fail to recognize that the rational intellectual side, if one appears to be, leaning too far in that direction, we often don't recognize that there's tremendous emotion layered in or stitched into that already.
I wonder now, Craig, if the pursuit of depth psychology and the unconscious isn't to come back with intellectual knowledge, but is a felt experience of something that is fundamentally our own opposites.
Exactly. The going into the unconscious, first of all, is right on here, because you're talking about going in and retrieving and bringing back the lesson or the intellectual knowledge. And then you're saying, nope, you're going in for the felt experience and to recognize it, as my opposite, or at least for what it is. It took me so long to get to that point in my work with depth psychology, because it was always that hero's journey kind of thing where I'm going to go in, I'm going to extract the gold, and I'm going to bring it back to the light of day. Like with my dream work, we are the ones that visit the unconscious consciously. We bring the consciousness into the darkness of the unknown, of the unconscious, and all that kind of thing. But then, there's the danger of transcribing what we experience in our encounter with the unconscious, of transcribing that into our ordinary daylight upper world language, concepts, ideas, desires, all that kind of thing, so that we've taken it out of its environment, and we're trying to translate it into ours. When you talk about the feel and the experience, then you don't steal it from its medium, from its environment, and translate it into what our ego language or whatever. You let it be what it is. The message is the experience. What essence can I bring back? Now, yes, that's the first level in. Go in there, get some good lessons, or go in there and whatever, and it'll help your waking life and all that. And I think it does. But then the next level, I think, is, like you say, the interaction, the just simply being in the environment, simply looking at it, like with dream work, just looking at the dream, tracking the dream into the unconscious. Now you're in its home. Stop forcing it to come over to your house. We are the guests. The ego is the guest in the realm of the unconscious.